All right, we're back to talk about another old episode of The Walking Dead. These are Walking Dead retro reviews. I'm Justin.
I'm Jessi.
And we're the Podcasting Dead. If you're new to the channel, we're going back through and reviewing all of the old episodes. We started with 1, now we're up to season 3, and Jessi's never seen it. I've seen it, and it's just kind of fun mixing the two. It's fun me trying not to spoil stuff, which I do a terrible job at sometimes. But at least I don't give out big spoilers. Like I ain't told you about how Rick dies next season. Oops.
Shut up.
Make sure to click the like and subscribe button. And also, before we start, a special thank you to moviepalette.com for being an affiliate of the channel. They send out these really dope art pieces based on your favorite movie. So just go to moviepalette.com, look up your favorite movie, and then when you go to buy it, use the code podcast15 and get 15% off. It's that simple. But tonight, we are talking about The Walking Dead Season 3, Episode 10. It's called Home. It was directed by Seth Mann and written by Nicole Beatty. I might be saying these names wrong, but I'm trying. It originally aired in February. It was February the 17th, to be exact, of 2013. My gosh, that was a long time ago.
That was.
I'm going to tell you out the gate, I hate to jump to the end first, but oh my gosh.
I was going to too.
It is one of the, like the ending of this episode is in my top 10 favorite moments of this show. Oh my gosh. The second Michonne starts running and the sword's like dragging through the grass. And then she's just like such a bamf just out there chopping heads off. That's like, you knew Michonne was a bad mamma jamma, but you really right there, you were like, oh, she's a beast.
Yes. I was legit gonna start with the ending.
Like when I started the episode and I realized it had that ending, I was like, oh, I forgot how much I love this episode.
I was yelling at the TV, and when that little truck thing busts through the gates, I was like, I was like, it's Daryl. It's Daryl and Merle. Or wait, it might be Glenn. I forgot about Glenn. And I was like, who is it? I need to know. And then the zombies came out and I was like, I was wrong.
I've never been so wrong in my whole life.
Yes, it's like the opposite. And I was like, why would they bust the gate down like that? Now all the walkers are going to get in.
Right? Like, couldn't you just roll up and shoot the governor or something? But no, and that was I like this because it's really, this is the governor showing them who they're messing with. Like, this was not, just some little assault on the prison. This was showing just how crafty, how deadly they can be, because that was a genius idea, man. Get somebody strapped in body armor to bust through with a truck full of zombies, and, because that's their whole defense in the prison is they have those walls. But once you break them down and there's walkers inside, it changes everything. And I just remember watching this episode with my dad, and it was like, no, not Herschel. No, I thought Herschel was a goner.
I said the same thing.
He lost his leg. Now he's about to lose his throat.
I was sitting there. I was like, he can't even run. He only has one leg.
I mean, it was, oh my gosh. Like I said, I hate to skip to the very end, but my gosh, this is a great episode. I'll tell you at the gate without even having to rate it. I give this one like a solid 5 out of 5. Like it is top notch Walking Dead.
It's crazy because if it wasn't for the end, it would have been like a 2 for me.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I thought it was super slow and it just wasn't a whole lot going on. I mean, it was needed. Like, all the parts were necessary for the story. But, man, when that ending came, I was just, like, off my seat.
And that might be why that ending is so effective, because the whole episode's a little slow in that regard. It's more of just, like, finding out what's going on in some characters' heads and some plot points. And then it's real laid back. And all of a sudden, boom, it's just, like, all-out war at the prison. Like, you don't.
Yeah.
So it might have been completely necessary for it to be as slow as it was so that ending would have the effect it did.
Well, it worked.
Because I like, no kidding. I got straight up goosebumps when Michonne took off running, because that is, like I said, this is easily in my top 10 favorite scenes in the entire show. And like, as soon as they drive off and Michonne goes running and she flips the sword out and it's dragging the ground and she's just like nonchalantly just taking these zombies out left and right. And let's not forget about Daryl's grand re-entrance, which was freaking awesome. Rick's pinned against the fence he's about to die. All of a sudden, you saw that arrow come through, and you were like, "Yes!" Did you think Daryl was going to come back, like during that battle?
Yeah. Yes. But I didn't expect Merle to until that van or like whatever it was came through, and I thought that maybe that was Daryl and Merle. I was like, is it Daryl and Merle? But then when I saw the arrow go through the head, I was like, Daryl. And then I saw Merle, and I've never been this happy to see Merle. I was like, Merle, yes.
And I mean, they just come in and say, and what do you think about, how do you think Rick's going to handle it? It's going to be hard to like tell Merle to leave when he literally just helped to save your life.
I disagree.
He's done some wrong things, but at the same time, I don't know. We've never been in that situation where your life is about to end and someone who you hate or has done you wrong turns around and saves you. I don't know. I feel like I'm not saying you would just turn into their best friend and like go braiding their hair, but I certainly think it's got to be some morality reservations there.
I think so, but we all know Rick is very selective, and he has turned away people for less, and
that's true. Like Tyrese and Sasha and them literally didn't do anything except show up, nothing. And he's like, get out. Which he wasn't really. What sucks is he wasn't really talking to them when he was yelling, get out, and all of that. That was to Lori, but of course they think he was just spazzing out, telling them to get out.
And that's another thing. Because this whole time I'm like, he's losing it. But when he was talking to Herschel through the fence about seeing Lori, he was like, I know it's not really her, but I need to know why. And it's like
I think he just wants to sort it out. Like, clearly there's just some, obviously losing his wife, but I think that he just knows that whatever this is and why ever he keeps seeing her, he's got to find some resolution to it or it's going to drive it. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. He's doing what, a lot of leaders, sometimes they just need to step away for a little while.
What could it be? Like, what would the reason be? Like, I can't figure that out.
It's, we'll have, I think it's a mental break. It's just, it seems like in the apocalypse, they don't have time to process stuff. Like, you'll notice people die and they get sad, but they don't really have time to, like, truly process many of the deaths. And it's like Lori dies, and not long after Lori dies, they're, going into the prison, and I don't think he's had time to just absorb what's happened. Because I've got
I totally agree.
I've got a heartbreaking character in my story who deals with not processing grief and the ways it can affect you, because it's a big thing.
What story?
My story that I wrote that I'll never publish.
That's what I thought you were talking about. Come on now. My
big, 4,000 page long story. Yep. The character which since it's never coming out, it's not a spoiler, whose child died what's bad is I wrote this long before I had a daughter too. So this was not even inspired by my own child, but his daughter was like a year old and passed away actually from cancer. But literally, like, the day of the funeral is when all the schnitt hit the fan. So, like, all this time, he's never had time to, like, stop and process that.
Oh, yeah.
And so he's got all these unresolved issues with that and yada, yada, yada. But, and I mean, looking back, I don't know if I wrote that before this or not. I mean, it could have been inspired by this. But, I mean, just when you don't deal with grief or have time to really process it, it can have some damaging effects.
Well, it's like Maggie trying to have her little moment and like just process what happened to her and Glenn. And so she's just in the bed, and I'm sitting here thinking to myself, like, when Glenn went in there and tried to talk to her and she was just laying there, I was thinking, like, yes, this is what she needs to do. She needs to just lay there, be depressed, and work it out in her head. But like, also I was like, but they need her, So how is she going to be able to do this? And then at the end, she just bust out with the guns. And I was like, yeah, she didn't have time to do nothing.
No, and when she bust out with the guns, and she was the bad, she's the one that took out the tower shooter, which was awesome.
Yeah.
Because he was keeping them pinned down quite. I had them in a tight spot. What about Axel? We didn't even talk about poor Axel.
I was about to.
Poor Axel.
It's sad because it looked like Carol was finally getting her new friend and
yep.
Popped him right in the head. And then she used him as a shield. That was wild.
I mean, look, if I'm shot in the head and I'm dead and pulling my body on top of you to protect yourself against bullets is something you have to do. You have my spirit will not be angry with you.
Ditto.
I don't need that body anymore. My brains are on the ground.
That body is gone.
It was, it's interesting though, because what they were shooting at her, those are pretty high velocity, like rifle rounds. I mean, in real life, they'd have skipped right through his body and she would have been lit up like the 4th of July. But still, it is fiction and it was a really cool scene.
I wondered about that. If the bullets would go straight through the dude.
Especially, he was shooting, it's called a Steyr AUG is the gun the governor was shooting, and they come in a couple of different calibers, but, all of them from 5.56 on up to some of the other rounds. I mean, they skip. They'll go right through you. So, yeah, there definitely should have been a few rounds that went through old Axel, unless they were all just hitting the right, bone to stop them. I mean, Carol should have definitely had a few shots in her, but... Again, it's a show about dead people eating people, so you can suspend reality a bit, and it was a cool scene, and Carol's getting very resourceful. Yeah,
but poor Axel, he finally got to change his clothes.
I mean, and to Axel's credit, I know you don't like him because he was kind of hitting on Beth, but once once that it was known that that's a no, he let it go. I'm not saying that excuses it, but he didn't. Pursue now that you know that Axel's dead, let me tell you, there was actually an original plan, and I don't know, again, I've said this I think before, but I don't know why having tattoos makes you bad, but there's going to be this big reveal that Axel was got arms full of tattoos, and he was actually a serial killer, and he was actually going to carry Beth out into the woods and kill her and be a bad guy, and then they scrapped that. And
thank God.
He just ended up being a wuss. But, I think Axel started kind of redeeming himself this episode. You were seeing some humor.
Yeah.
You got the story of why he was in prison. Him and Carol seemed to be hitting it off. I think she was kind of smitten with him there. I mean, it was a couple of scenes, when he said, "You're quite a lady." She's like, huh.
Yep.
She was feeling herself.
But it's okay because Daryl's back now. He came back for Carol.
Oh, man, you're going to be blown away when Merle and Carol hook up.
Ew, I don't want Merle to hook up with anybody. But man, just think about who all's at the prison now. You've got Merle and Michonne at the same prison. Also, Glenn and Maggie, 3 people this guy has attempted to murder, more or less. He didn't really try to kill Maggie, but... Didn't even think about it.
Yeah,
I didn't have time. I didn't have time to think about it with all the madness going on.
3 people he's harmed.
Is Michonne just gonna off him?
Just quick? Next episode starts with Merle being like, "Hey, I think we can put all this behind us," and Michonne's like, "Pfft."
Yeah, exactly. Head off.
Well, there goes Merle. I didn't love him anymore, Rick. I came back for you.
I was so proud of Daryl when he put that bow to Merle's head when Merle was going through that car.
And see, like I said, I know it was slow, but I think that these scenes were important because it was showing us that Daryl's having his moment of realization that, he doesn't think that way anymore. And, just realizing that Merle is not good for him. Merle's not. Yeah. That's not the path he would, because if he wouldn't have gotten close with Rick in the group, that's the path he would have taken. Because you learned from Merle this episode, they were planning to rob the camp.
Yeah.
So Daryl, I think, could see that that's what he was going to become. And that's what he will become if he stays with Merle. And he doesn't like that. He likes this sense of responsibility to protect people and do the right thing. So, it was good for that, revelation he needed for himself, I think.
Yeah, I was so proud. I wanted to give him the biggest hug.
That's just some coons making love, sweet love, you know what I'm saying? That scene cracks me up because it's like I know a lot of animals sound like babies crying, right? Bobcats, foxes, maybe even raccoons. I've never heard that from a raccoon that I'm aware of, but like a lot of animals sound like a baby crying. So when he said that, it's like because I know some people back when that came out were like, "That's so stupid. Clearly, that wasn't a raccoon." I'm like, I don't know, man. Animals make some weird noises.
Yeah.
You know,
it was so funny the way that Merle like sat back when Daryl went to help the people on the bridge, and he was just sitting there, just like watching it all, and everybody else was just so chaotic.
He's like, "How am I gonna help somebody ain't never cooked me a meal?" Well, they can't cook you a meal if they're dead.
Nah.
But, you know, it's just two different ideologies there. Merle's just very like, I'm not helping anyone that's not going to stand to gain me anything. And Daryl's just a sense of like responsibility of if you can help, you should help.
Yeah. Good for him.
Yep. Daryl, our boy Daryl's really coming along.
He really is. He's so adorable.
I really remember when that last episode came out, episode 9, me and my dad being like, do you think Daryl's going to go back to the dark side? Like, do you think he's going to disappear for a while and Merle's going to change him? And, you know, they got to like retame him when at some point. And it was like, it didn't take long to be like, Daryl's like, I don't love you, Merle. I want Rick. But
how did Merle know that Daryl and Rick were so tight? Because he brought it up.
Well, I think he could tell, like, in that interaction last episode where they were all in the woods and, you know, like, just Rick, even though it wasn't like, you know, it was conversation of like Daryl walking away, and I think he could tell Rick spoke to him with a lot more respect. You know, like he talked to him like a friend that he didn't want to leave. Whereas the last time, you know, he's never seen Daryl and Rick interact out, you know, I guess because he, you know, was on the roof. But, you know, Rick's talking to him like a trusted ally, not some hillbilly. So I think he could tell that, you know, Rick and Daryl had gotten kind of close. And it wasn't easy for Daryl either. Yeah. You know, if Daryl,
you know.
And you got Glenn, he's ready to go to war. They messed with his woman. You know, it's old Glenn. Mm-hmm. He's getting a little savage too.
He really is. It's like you said, they don't have time to process anything. He's got all these bad thoughts, and his little brain, his little innocent brain, is just so corrupt now. It makes me sad.
Herschel having to be the voice of reason here.
Yeah, of course, because I mean Herschel. Duh. They
both had good points, you know. I mean, I could see Herschel's point of like, you know, we don't need to fight a war. If we think they're coming, we just got to go.
Yeah.
But then I also see Glenn's point. You know, you had 2 legs when we were on the road, when we also didn't have a baby that needed a bottle every few hours.
Yeah. And like the crying baby that's going to attract all the walkers.
Yep. It's going to be a dinner bell. But yeah, and then you got the governor back in Woodbury playing like a game of Big Brother. You know, he's like telling Andrea, I'm not fit to lead these people, but I believe you are. And then going to Milton being like, I don't know, would you take a bullet for me? Which is a weird question. I'd be like, I don't know. It depends on the situation.
Yeah. And he's all about like, and Milton knows this, but he's all about people who are loyal to him. And if he doesn't think that they're loyal to him, that he's going to kill them.
Absolutely. And then, you know, it's like, who's loyal to me? Blah, 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 blah. And then, you know, Andrea also running around like asking everybody stuff. And it's like, Andrea, shut up. You've been here like 4 days. You ain't leading nothing.
And like, I've realized now that everybody knew except for her.
Yep. Everyone knew where he'd went. Except Andrea.
It's funny because she's sitting here thinking that she's like the big dog in town now because she gave a speech to everybody, but everybody's in on a secret that she's not in on.
She gave a speech, and she gave some of that sweet, sweet love making that Merle was talking about to the governor.
Governor.
The governor. I wonder if she said that. She was like, oh, yes, governor, yes.
Ew.
He's like, call me the governor. Do it with a British accent.
Say it. So you want my tea and crumpets? Give me the tea and crumpets, Governor.
Oh gosh, the crumpets! Oh,
the crumpets are crumbling
leave
in my mouth. I need some jelly for my crumpets.
Leave the tea alone and play with the crumpets.
Teabag me. Give me the teabag, Governor.
Oh yes, Governor. But yeah, so she's thinking she's some big dog with all this influence, and the governor, of course, made her head swell even more when he's like, "Oh, I'm not fit to lead these people, but I believe you are."
you sound just like him.
She's like, "Oh yeah, I am. I'm special," and she's not at all.
No.
And nobody wants to tell her anything. They want to be like, "Oh, he went to go kill your friends," but Milton's almost robotic. Have you noticed that?
Yeah. I feel bad for him, though.
Oh, I do too, 100%. I don't think Milton is at all a bad guy. I feel like Milton is just in a very screwed up situation.
Well, because he cannot survive on his own.
You're right, and I think he knows that. Like when he said he hadn't thought of leaving, hadn't crossed his mind. I think he's being 100% honest on that one.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I don't think he would ever leave because he knows he's not going to make it on his own. But like he's just in the wrong group.
Well, that's true. Maybe he'll be a part of Rick's group now.
Well, it could be. You never know. You never know what this show holds.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know how much of an asset he would be, but
he's smart. He plays scientist.
He is really smart.
I'm going to use my little ringy thing, and then I'm going to see if zombies are still people inside.
That's precious of him to think.
The governor's like behind him, massaging his shoulders. Yes, Milton.
Speaking of the governor being behind him, I thought he was going to shoot him.
Yeah, it's definitely a creepy way to get somebody's attention.
Yeah. It scared me. Like I jumped.
Yeah, Milton did too. He said, "Oh, yeah. Governor, you scared me."
Governor.
Oh, Governor.
I love how he was like, I was just trying to get into a meditative state or something. It's like, you couldn't have interrupted him in a worse way.
And then it's like, "Oh, just keep you around for your tea." Surprised it wasn't just like some funky music just starts playing.
Bow chicka wow wow.
But yeah, so the governor's definitely trying to play both sides. He's trying to play his own people against each other, basically in a bid to stay loyal to him. How do you think, as we get close to the end of this, how do you think Rick and his group are going to respond to this? Or do you think they're going to respond at all? Do you think they're going to run? Do you think they're going to attack? What do you think?
I think that they're going to have no choice but to leave.
So you think they're just going to roll out?
I think they're going to have to because they didn't kill the governor. Or maybe they'll try to go back and kill the governor. They're either going to leave or they're going to go back and retaliate.
Or do you think perhaps the governor, that's all he wanted to do and he's going to leave him alone?
No.
You don't think he rolls that way?
No. I think he wants to kill them, obviously. But also, wait, so did he tell Merle said he was going to kill everybody there. Mm-hmm. He told Daryl that. So did he really think he was going to kill everybody there? Or did he leave the zombies there thinking that the zombies would take care of them? And does he think they're dead?
No, I think, and I'm talking, not from what I know, but from when I watched the episode, I think this was just a big FU. I thought, you know what I mean? I think, I don't even think his goal, I think he's just playing with them. I don't think the governor wanted to kill everybody at this point. I think the governor just wanted to flex, to be like, this is who you're messing with. You know what I mean?
He would.
And thank God Glenn got back when he got back.
Right? When he showed up, I was like, I forgot about Glenn.
Yep. And then they passed each other so awkwardly, like, what's the governor doing at my prison?
I think I want to go back and watch that scene again. I'm telling you, like, on the edge of my seat yelling.
Oh, it's so good. Like, that scene it is prime Walking Dead. Like this.
Yeah.
And I mean, it continues for a while. I mean, but like you're in like some prime Walking Dead. Like when we talk about like those of us that watch the new stuff, it's like that was the good old days, man. It just was, every episode was new. And even when you thought it was going to be a slow episode, something happened that made you be like, oh my God.
Yep.
Michonne with her sword, man. I'm telling you. And then I like when Glenn was ready to go back to Woodbury, and he just tells her, he's like, we can end this tonight. She just gives him a nod, like, I'm down.
Yeah.
Glenn also, through his rage, though, he also was showing some good leadership skills. You know, I like they're going to go clear the part of the prison that's open, and Michonne's like, I'll go help you, and he's like, no, I need you here in case something happens. You know, like he's getting good at like the delegating and leading type deal. He's just got that rage that's, you know, holding him back to an extent.
Yeah, well, can you blame him?
No.
Yeah.
Not in the slightest.
I don't know. It's so, like, I want to say these people are handling everything way better than I would, but how will we ever know? I hope we don't ever know.
Yeah, I don't think anybody knows how they truly act in these situations unless they, until they're in them. Like we can sit back and observe and be like, I'd do this, I'd have done that. But when you got somebody shooting at you or people trying to eat you, I mean, you don't know how you might be a bamf or you might be a scared little wuss.
Yep.
So I mean,
so when Rick like was on the other side of the fence because he saw Lori. Somebody who I was at somebody else's house and they don't watch The Walking Dead and they decided to ask me then like what was going on. I was like, well, that's his dead wife and she just died giving birth to his best friend's baby.
It's a complicated story.
It's a lot.
It's a little, it's a little wild right now.
And I was like, it is a zombie apocalypse, so he's just going crazy a little bit.
Just a tiny little bit of crazy.
Little bit. It'll pass.
And he gave his famous line there when Herschel's like, what are you doing? You know, I'm just doing the things and stuff.
He said, I have things in here. Or something like that.
Just doing things and stuff. Things and stuff. We got it. What are those things and stuff?
It makes me laugh. Like every time he says that now, I can't take him serious. Oh, excuse me.
Nope. It's hilarious. But we love him. He's Rick. He's become a bad mamma jamma, and he's surrounded by some other bad mamma jammas. I'm
so glad Daryl's back. Daryl and Rick together again.
Rick! Dare Bear.
What if, like, right after you see the arrow, you just hear him whisper, pocket sand.
Like the arrow hits and Rick's like, oh, and all of a sudden you hear pocket sand and he's throwing it at a zombie's face.
And Rick's like,
Daryl, I love you, Daryl.
You're back.
Come over here and kiss me.
Give me some of that pocket sand. I missed you.
Come over here and kiss me on my hot mouth.
Ew. Why is it hot?
I just, what if it's like, Rick? He's like, Daryl, Governor, get out of here. Go on. We don't want you. You ruined my fence.
Right? Dang, now they're going to have to fix the fence. Unless they just leave.
You didn't just break my fence. You broke my heart. Get out of here, Governor.
Governor.
He'd be like, fine. Governor out.
I done flexed. I'm out now.
I'm going to go back to Woodbury, and Andrea's going to flex on me, and she going to call me Governor, and she going to eat the tea and the crumpets.
Ooh, what if she left? What if she left because she was feeling sus? Like she knew something was up. And so she saw all of this go down because she was going back to the prison.
That would make her a terrible friend, wouldn't it? Because she didn't do anything.
What is she going to do?
Shoot the governor when he doesn't expect it.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, if she, it's just like if that did happen and she was out there and she watched the governor attack and try to kill her friends and like at that point did not have enough common freaking sense to realize that this man is not what you thought he was. Michonne was right. He's a psycho hunk of dog crap. And he needs to be put down. And you had the drop on him and like he didn't know you were there. And you didn't just like put a bullet in his head. Like I know he had a few other people with him, but come on, there's a lot of shooting going on. You could pop him and the guy with him and nobody would know.
Yeah. You're saying this with a lot of conviction, like that's actually what happened.
No,
like you're mad.
No, I just really don't like Andrea.
Well, I feel like,
because if it does happen, if it did happen, that's exactly what Andrea would do. She'd stand there and be like, I just didn't want to hurt anybody. And it'd be like, shut up, Andrea.
Really? You shot at Daryl.
Tea and crumpets.
I didn't kill you. Can I have some crumpets tonight, Governor?
Rick and Daryl break up, and he's like, I want some of your governor crumpets.
Ew.
Give me the tea. All of it.
Gross.
What about the
Give
end?
me I need some sugar with the tea.
Oh, Governor, I was playing with your crumpets, and now there's tea everywhere.
Can you put some cream in my tea?
Rated X.
Cream it up, Governor. Extra cream.
Extra cream.
Ew. I want it to be thick going down.
Jessi, do you have the hots for the governor? Because you're saying this with some real conviction.
No, not at all. I'm just really sleepy.
Yeah, me too. So let's wrap this thing on up. But thank you so much for joining us. And we will be reviewing episode 11 of season 3 on Monday. So make sure you tune in for that one. That also has got another one of my, I don't know if I'd say it's in the top 10, but it's definitely one of my favorite moments. So
top 50 moments.
Well, top 20. Maybe even top 15. It might be in the top 10. I don't know. I have to see how it makes me feel when I watch it again.
All right. It might make you feel completely different than it did the first time.
I feel some kind of way. But yeah, we'll find out.
Like the tea and crumpets.
Oh, thick. That thick tea.
So creamy.
It's all over the place. Oh, I told you. Mess with the crumpets. Oh my God.
We've taken this too far.
But it's so fun.
It is. I mean, it is.
Like if I had to think that the governor and Andrea hooked up and that did not happen, like I don't even want to finish the show. In my mind, that's what happened.
Yeah. I agree. I can't even imagine it happening any other way.
It's like Rick and them will be talking to Andrea and be like, how could you sleep with the governor? And she's like, I just really like the tea and crumpets.
And they just stare at her blankly like, what?
Those fuzzy governor crumpets.
Yeah.
All right, we're getting too gross. That's going to wrap it up. Thank you so much. Make sure to hit the subscribe and like button and to share it and to hit the bell notification so you know when we have new ones. Also, don't forget on Sunday, Matt and I will be covering the newest episode of The Walking Dead. And man, the new episodes have been on fire. So make sure you tune in. That's a live stream that we do right after the episode goes off Sunday night. It starts around 10:30, just depends on when the episode goes off. So make sure to tune in for that. But in the meantime, I'm Justin.
I'm Jessi.
And we're the Podcasting Dead. Go have some tea and crumpets.
Oh, governor.
Oh, governor.